Public Bodies Review Agency Bill, second stage, private members' business. The question is that the bill will now be read a second time. Calling Senator Pádraig to speak. You have 12 minutes.
Thank you, Harloch. And I propose that this bill be read a second time.
I second that.
Agus éire tá fáilte rút agus an deasú éceáil in chéadú Seanad le písta de mar a hiigim. Minister, I'd very much like to welcome you and your officials to the House this evening and to consider this bill, which I believe is of utmost importance in supporting the integrity in how our state and semi-state bodies operate and achieve their relevant objectives in a coherent and focused manner. I also look forward to a positive and constructive debate and direction on the substance of the bill, whereby the contributions by colleagues both challenge and strengthen its primary objectives. I would like to thank my colleagues, Senator Mullen, Senator Crockwell, for co-sponsoring this bill, and I'd also like to acknowledge Senator Freeman and my colleague here for seconding the bill. We as legislators have been entrusted to ensure that the state functions effectively and is relevant to the maximum benefit of our people, and in an effective and transparent manner. The purpose of this bill is to create the Public Bodies Review Agency, whose function will be to independently and professionally evaluate the relevance and effectiveness of state and semi-state bodies at least once every 7 years by reference to international best practice. The agency will then report back to the relevant line minister, as well as to you, Minister, the Minister of Public Expenditure and Reform, with findings and recommendations. Both ministers will then have 90 days to issue a joint response and put forward an action plan indicating how they will implement those recommendations. This report will be available to the general public and can be of particular benefit to those working in the relevant committees of Leinster House, as well as to both houses of the Oireachtas. If this bill is enacted into legislation, the agency will be tasked with ensuring that public sector bodies are independently and regularly reviewed in order to ensure that their statutory remit remains relevant and that this remit is adapted where necessary. The agency will also review how effectively the public sector body executes its core objectives. With the exception of the Statute Law Revision Initiative, we do not have a practice that systematically reviews legislation in this country. This means that when a new law is enacted, we rarely take time to look back on its effectiveness or, quite frankly, on its current relevance. This is also true with regards to all the legislation under which the public bodies have been established. A significant number of state and semi-state bodies have been created under legislation enacted well over 30 years ago. Irish society has changed significantly since then, and yet we do not have any effective independent means to ensure that those statutory bodies and other organisations have a relevant and integrated mandate to provide real and meaningful benefit to the island of today and tomorrow. Minister, there are over 250 public bodies in existence, as you well know, across 16 government departments. 62 agencies have been terminated since 2010. And for the vast majority of those terminations, the functions previously carried out by the agency were transferred or merged into another organisation. 25 new agencies have been created since 2010. Of these, 14 are primarily the result of mergers of older agencies, or the transfer of all functions to a new agency, while 11 are completely new agencies. I'm not generally in favour of the establishment of new statutory bodies. However, in this instance, the establishment of a new body is the most effective means of ensuring that we have the infrastructure which is necessary to systematically review and provide objective proposals on the existing stock of public bodies. The body which would be established under this legislation will yield millions of euros in savings on an annual basis, thus ensuring that its cost is far outweighed by the benefits it will bring. In its review of the Irish Public Service in 2008, the OECD found that the process of agency reform has coincided with, and I quote, ad hoc expansion of the organisational complexities of the state. Announced as part of the Public Service Reform Plan 2011 to 2013, Minister, in your department, an agency rationalisation programme was put in place aimed at making a contribution to the overall reform objectives of delivering a public service that was more efficient and integrated. The Institute of Public Administration Research, paper number 18, in March 2016, in providing an objective review of national non-commercial state agencies in Ireland between 2010 and 2015 state, and I quote, "There is no clear relationship in Ireland between an agency's legal mandate, size of function and the form of governance adopted." So before, Minister, on setting out on a journey of preparing this legislation, I drew a lot of comfort from a pledge in the programme for partnership government where it states, and I quote, "We will empower frontline service providers to make more decisions, encourage more collaboration between public service bodies and between the public and private sectors, and reward public service innovation and change. We will also reform the public sector more generally to ensure more accessible public services." A number of other jurisdictions have introduced a law similar to what I am proposing, in particular the US and in Australia. But also closer to home, the National Oversight and Audit Commission is a statutory body which was established under Section 126B of the Local Government Act 2001 to oversee local government sector. The Local Government Efficiency Review Implementation Group was established by the Minister for the Environment, Community and Local Government in April 2011 to oversee the implementation of a series of reforms. In its second progress report in 2013, the Implementation Group reported that €561 million in savings were achieved between 2010 and 2012. And their key objective is to achieve an annual saving in excess of €500 million a year. This bill uses a lot of the strategy of that structure and that organisation, so it's not absolutely totally unique or once-off. The agency which is proposed to be established under this bill is broadly similar to those objectives, but is concentrated on state and semi-state bodies and has the potential to be the catalyst of similar, if not even greater, efficiencies. The Department of Public Expenditure and Reform's new code of practice for the governance of state bodies will have implications for state bodies which will lead to positive change. But I believe, Minister, more can and should be done. The objective of this bill is wholly consistent with what the government has pledged in terms of public sector innovation and change, and with also your passion and your commitment to actually work on the reform of this. And I very much respect and appreciate that, Minister. Also, we don't need to spend millions on third-party consultants in providing a stream of reports on the efficiencies or lack thereof of the various public bodies under our direction. I believe we can achieve far better and more effective results ourselves, and this bill will go a long way, in my view, towards this regard. We owe it to the excellent people working in our state and semi-state bodies to support and encourage a world-class working environment for them. So it's as much for them as it is for us, as it is for the general public. Minister, I hope I've given you a good sense of the rationale behind this bill, as well as an outline of some of the key provisions. And I ask you to support the bill, and that you will recognise the potential which it presents to streamline in a structured and coherent way the public sector and ensure that it continues to be fit for purpose.